probably the largest portfolio manager in fixed income assets at that point of time. So it was a perfect playing field to get to know the market. All the analysts, brokers and so forth, they really loved us, not for the blue eyes, but for the money we set on. So I turned out to learn that journey as a specialist portfolio manager well. And I worked in those positions in the national pension funds at Alfred Berg and half of my career in Nordea. And I was really, as you know, you turn into your first job and so forth, portfolio management, financial markets, really into the techniques, the microclimate of everything. But then, after a couple of years at the pension funds and so forth, I had opportunity to be a part of Alfred Berg, which at that point of time actually was notch on competition with Carnegie. And Alfred Berg at that point of time looked very much like Carnegie as of today. But at that point of time in the early 90s, that was only an equity house. So it turned out that I would like to invest the Patrick Brömer, that was the CEO of Alfred Berg at that point out, to have a fixed income, interest-bearing departments as well. So I had the fortune to be part of that, to build that franchise and so forth with a colleague. Then over to Nordea, and briefly then, 97 in the day before Lucia, it was announced that Merita, the Finnish entity, and Nordbanken, the Swedish entity, should merge. And over the night, more or less, it turned out that the CEO of the asset management company and the fund company in Finland, they gave a notice. They didn't like to join that party, and we didn't have any management in Finland. I had a phone call from my superior at that point of time, and he said, Thomas, we need a man in Helsinki for some time to recruit new management, hold on to all the organization and manage the organization. And I volunteered for that as well, flew over the next morning, and that was really the point of time where I, so to say, from a specialist point of view, I saw all the benefits and also the beauties, as I address it, to work with the strategy, all the peoples involved in an organization, and turning out to switch my career on a management route. And since then, you can read by yourself, it has been like a manager, general manager if you like, still all my career, fairly narrow you could say. I don't know which industries and sectors you're working, broader than the financial services I guess, so it's a fairly narrow scope, but I've done a lot of all what can be done in this sector, in the financial services sector. So that is briefly where I'm coming from. And in Carnegie, I joined in August last year. And why Carnegie? This is the way we look like. But since I had this experience, without knowing exactly to be on the inside of Carnegie, but my time in Alfred Berg the first half of the 90s, I only had 2 years as CEO on Swedbank Robur before. Clearly too short, because that was a change mandate as well. I really like to work with Michael Wolff and so forth. When the Carnegie show came up, I couldn't resist myself to join in on that. A bigger job, yes, but also to have a possibility to manage and lead a turnaround case, I would say. You know the dramatics of the former Carnegie, the purchase of HQ, they all melted down. There's been some rough years in the financial markets for everyone, but if you have the journey for the last 5 years, Carnegie, HQ, integrating 2 businesses, you ask for all the drama you can really wish for, right? So we are surfing out of that cycle now. Obviously it's a fairly hairy challenge to manage this organization, but I really think that we can get there. And we can get beauty and beautiful again and profitable again, and with some help of the macro climate, but primarily what we can do of ourselves. So we are servicing clients in 7 geographies. Obviously it's a Nordic franchise primarily. We have a private bank in Luxembourg, and then we have offices in New York and London, but they are only sales offices for Nordic equities, Nordic equity research and Nordic sales of equities. 25 people in London and a dozen in New York. And then we are more full-blown operations in the 4 Nordic countries. Close to 700 employees, a turnover of 1.6 billion. I hope that should increase. We were profitable last year in the underlying profit. We have some extra cost for resigning people and so forth, but we are on a profitable route from now on and so forth. We're owned of Altor, that did purchase Carnegie from the state when we were state-owned for 2007 and 2008, and they own us to 68%. 22% is owned of us as employees. and there's a remaining part of 10% that is owned of the former Öresund and Creades, which is the founders of H&Q, Hagströmer and Kviberg.